Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Ah, yes, my friends. Hour number 2 of today's program. It's a pleasure to be here. We're continuing. We're moving on. We talked last hour about the court ruling that Trump's tariffs were illegal. Didn't pass the test required for the president to basically start issuing these tariffs. At least part of the tariffs. Some of the tariffs are going to be fine. And Trump's certainly going to be looking for a workaround. They've issued they're requesting a stay. The court hasn't issued one. But basically they're trying to say, look, we're using these. There's a national emergency. The court's saying that's not necessarily how we interpret it. You're kind of usurping the congressional authority. I don't know where this will end up. I can certainly see the logic of what Trump's team is saying. I can also see the questions. The questions are legitimate. I'm not sure about the decision. That's where I basically landed. I'm not. This is a little bit more complicated and requires, I think, a pretty thorough understanding of the law. I can respect what Trump is doing, what Trump is trying to accomplish, trying to use the law. I can also respect the courts in general for trying to say, obviously, we're trying to make sure that the law is followed. I'm not sure who's right here. But what matters right now is that the courts ruled against Trump. They've got a period of time to basically stop certain tariffs, but Trump's team is trying to request a stay, a pause on that decision, actually from having it be enacted so that they can, not stop something that would cause irreparable harm, right? I mean, these are high-level negotiations. If these tariffs are not allowed to stay, it would cause a major problem for Trump. Now, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't go. I'm not suggesting they should go. I'm simply saying the law is what Trump's trying to do makes perfect sense, which is let's not force this to happen until this is allowed to go through the the appeals process. Anyway, I want to shift gears this hour. I want to talk about Musk. I want to talk about Musk starting the process of stepping away from Doge. I want to play for you some comments Elon made regarding his frustration with the big, beautiful bill. I want to play Trump's response to that. I want to play another response that Trump had to a question raised by a journalist, probably a make-believe journalist, regarding the what the Wall Street Journal calls taco, which is basically Trump is backing down from all of his tariffs when it gets too tough, when things get tight and intense. Trump's chickening out, I think is the phrase they used. Anyway, we'll get there in due course, my friends. Before we do this, I want to talk to those of you in sales. If you are in sales, my friends, how much would it change your life if you doubled your sales? You can make tremendous money in sales. I know some people out there listening to my voice don't think sales is a real career path or whatever. But for those of you in it, and those of you who have seen the potential in it, you understand if you improve your skills, you can improve your family situation tremendously, your personal situation. It's a wonderful way to make a really good living. In fact, it's one of the professions that pays the highest. Now, it also can pay the lowest if you're not successful, which is why you need to have a good team of people around you that help you in your sales efforts. More deals, bigger commissions, less stress, maybe promotions. Who knows what's in store for you if you could double your sales, improve your sales dramatically. That's what Matt Easton and Easton University is here to help you achieve. They've designed a system that's designed to transform your sales career. It's a proven path to success, my friends. I've been a part of the program with what we do here. Our team has gone through it. I highly recommend it if you are in sales, or you know what, if you're someone who needs to be persuasive, which who of us don't need to have that skill set, this is a wonderful path for you to take. And if you are a student, if you sign up to be a student through our website, toddhuffshow.com/Easton, you're going to get a welcome call from Matt. He's going to help you get plugged in and get started as quickly as possible, understand your personal situation, and get you as productive as possible, as quickly as possible. So, toddhuffshow.com/Easton is where you'll go. toddhuffshow.com/Easton, EASTON. All right, let's start. I'm just going to reference this. I'm not going to be here very long. Musk officially steps down from Doge, headline Fox News last night. Musk officially steps down from Doge after wrapping work streamlining government. That's the headline. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. It doesn't sound right to me. Musk was hired as a special government employee, which only permits 130 days of employment. Elon Musk is beginning the process of stepping down from his role as the head of Doge. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO posted on X Wednesday night that his time as special government employee is coming to an end and thanked President Donald Trump for the opportunity to cut down on wasteful spending. This is what he posted on X. The Doge mission will only strengthen over time as it becomes a way of life throughout the government, Musk wrote in the post. The White House confirmed to Fox that Musk's post is accurate and offboarding will begin Wednesday night. Okay, so that's happening, which of course, none of this is a surprise. He had a limited time to be there. Anyway, maybe it's a little bit earlier than some people might have thought. I don't know. Time flies. But that's going on. Now, I want to play a quote, or a soundbite, I should say, from Elon Musk. Elon was sitting down in an interview. He was asked about Trump's, the big, beautiful bill. So he's sitting down on an interview with the BBC. And I just want to play this. It's a 30-second clip. And I think many of us will share some of these sentiments here. He's got his Occupy Mars shirt on, by the way. Here's what Elon has to say.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. Everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
So Elon says, I think a bill can be big, I think a bill can be beautiful, but I don't think it can be both. And he's not wrong about that. Now, many of us, myself included, certainly share those sentiments. It has been, it's discouraging. Now, this is a little bit complicated. I think the Trump team believes the economy is going to be more robust, and I will tell you that I put stake in that. I think that they are much better at maybe predicting some of those things than some of the other folks are. They're much more, now maybe they're too optimistic, but they're not pessimistic. I'm reminded of what Trump said during COVID. You remember during COVID, he said we're going to have a V-shaped recovery. You can imagine the stock market in a graph. We had tremendous losses in the stock market because of COVID. Everything got shut down. Company profits were down. Consumer confidence, everything was in disarray. Nobody knew which way was up. We had massive federal spending to try to help us weather this stuff and all that, right? Big problems that we're dealing with. And Trump said, look, we're going to have a V-shaped recovery. This isn't going to be a slow recovery. We're going to hit the bottom. This thing's going to pass by. And the economy, because there's not a fundamental problem with it, there was just life was forced to come to a halt because governments, again, whether they were justified for any of it, none of it, all of it, that's up for debate, and that's another conversation. But governments shut the world down. Our government, state governments, other governments around some governments are, COVID changed the world in a lot of ways. Certain industries, if you're in certain industries, it's different. I'm not saying it's impossible to survive and thrive. I had a conversation with someone yesterday who's in one of those industries that I think is probably hit the hardest by COVID. And we're 5 years after the fact. Things have never quite gotten back to normal in certain industries, and that's certainly one of them. He, by the way, is in the restaurant space. You have the cost of things going up. You have people's disposable incomes going down, or things are tightening, or they're uncertain about their jobs. People got into the habit of things like DoorDash or just other alternatives. If you had a establishment that was primarily sit down, it's just different. It's a different environment, and then suddenly you have a big building that people aren't using. It just creates a lot of problems. I've seen it in lots of restaurants and talking with some of the people that work there. Anyway, but this, we have, Trump predicted a V-shaped recovery from COVID, and that's effectively what we have. So I am certainly of the opinion that I think that their predictions, that the economy might do better than people expect, and that's certainly a possibility. But we can't put all of our eggs in that basket. Even if I'm an optimist, which I am, we shouldn't put all of our eggs in that basket. And even if we account for some additional economic growth, I still think that this spending bill, I've shared this with you. I shared that I think it's the best we're going to get. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this can be adjusted and changed here at the 11th hour. I don't know. But the bottom line is that it's still not good for our debt. It's still not good to not have a balanced budget. Something's going to have to give here, because this is what many in Congress have been elected to fix. It's what the American people, one of the many things they want to see addressed is the size and scope of government brought under control, crazy spending all that come to a halt, and responsible governance be put into place and begin the process of at least stopping the growth of our federal deficit each year and our federal debt on top of that, just to stop the bleeding. If we can just get to the point where we're not going into the red every year, that would be a massive step in the right direction. That bill doesn't do it. So Elon is asked about this. He says, look, we put these things into place. We found these cuts. We've been very thorough in what we've done. And the reality is that we're continuing to spend money at a clip that we shouldn't be doing it. And Elon says the bill can either be big or it can be beautiful, but it can't be both. And I have to say, I agree with Elon here. And I get Trump. This is how Trump thinks. The bill is called they call it the big, beautiful bill, which is, I don't know, it's comical to me, and I like it in ways because, first of all, it forces it to be discussed this way in public, which of course brings to light the ridiculousness of how some legislation is named. Something like we will save all, Protect the Children Act, and then you vote against it because there's a bunch of crappy provisions that have nothing to do with children or anything like that. And then later on, you're asked at some town hall meeting why you oppose the Protecting Children Act or whatever it is, right? And so in this case, I think it's kind of it's kind of well done. It's a little bit of political theater. The big, beautiful bill. And this is how Trump is. We're going to put everything in a bill. It's going to go through reconciliation, everything that we can. We're going to have this one big, beautiful bill that's going to go through the process. We're not going to have it subjected to the filibuster. We're going to fix so many things that are wrong with this country in this bill. Can't address everything, but it's going to be one big, beautiful bill. So you can see where Trump's coming from. But Elon's point may be more even fundamental. Look, you can have a beautiful bill, but if it's big, is it really beautiful? That's Elon's question. And to that, I would say probably not. Part of the problem that we have with legislation, why does legislation need to be as long as it is? I'm not saying for a moment that there's not legalese and things that need to go in legislation that someone like me wouldn't think about, right? I mean, I think about something from a 30,000 foot level. The minutia, that's for other people to get into, which it matters. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to gloss over that at all. It matters tremendously. But in my mind, as a big picture thinker, you establish what the legislation should do, and then you have the attorneys or whoever, the staff, put this together. And I'm assuming at least there needs to be, checkpoints along the way to make sure that that's what's done in the legislation. But I just can't envision why legislation needs to be this long. Well, the longer it is, the more it seems to have unnecessary things in it, whether it's unnecessary fluff or policies or expenses. Something in there, some sort of a, caveat or some sort of a loophole for somebody or whatever. Anyway, but Musk's point is, look, you can have it big, you can have it beautiful, but you can't have both. It's kind of an oxymoron at that point, says Elon Musk. Now, Trump responds, or he's asked about this at a press conference, which, by the way, Trump is in front of the media more. I mean, I'm going to use hyperbole here, but he's in front of the media more in, a week than President Biden was in front of the media in, months. They hid this guy. Anyway, so he's in front of the media. He's asked about Elon, especially, since he's stepping, in the process of getting out of the Doge leadership, and he's in the position of criticizing this big, beautiful bill. And just listen to what Trump says in response here.
President Elon Musk, in a television interview, criticized the one big, beautiful bill, saying he was disappointed it didn't cut enough, essentially, that it undercut the Doge efforts. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the reaction's a lot of things. Number one, we have to get a lot of votes. We can't be cutting. We need to get a lot of support, and we have a lot of support. We had to get it through the House. The House was. We have no Democrats. If it's up to the Democrats, they'll take the 65% increase. If that doesn't get approved, this country is going to have a 65% increase in taxes and lots of other problems, big problems, almost bigger than that. But we'll have a 65% increase as opposed to the largest tax cut in the history of our country.
Okay, so Trump's position is, look, we have to get a lot of people to vote for this. We don't have a lot of leeway. We don't have a lot of room for error. Democrats aren't going to support this. Democrats are crazy. They're not going to be on the side of trying to solve a problem. They're in the opposition. So we've got to figure out how we get everybody on board. There's some things in this bill I love. There's some things in this bill I'm not thrilled with. But if we don't get this done, by the way, the Trump tax cuts of 2017 are scheduled to sunset. They're scheduled to not continue. And so the only way that gets done is if there's legislation. And it's going to have to be tied into this, or that's going to create a problem. Now, I'm not a fan of this kind of concept of legislating by crisis, right? We've waited till the last minute here. I mean, by the way, I've criticized Congress. I feel like the only one that's doing anything right now is Trump and his administration. Marco Rubio, I love what Rubio's doing. In fact, Rubio's a guy that I'm in the back of my head thinking this guy could legitimately, in my mind now, maybe be one of the next true front runners to run for president of the United States. I didn't honestly think I would think that even a couple of years ago, but I've been impressed. But if you look at who's doing things in Washington, it's the Trump administration. It's not really Congress. Now, this is what they're trying to do. They've gotten it to the finish line here. And, the reality is, from Trump's perspective, I just think from a realistic perspective, that there are going to be things in any piece of legislation that you're not going to like. I mean, the idea that we're going to get everything we want every time is not living in reality. And so that's Trump's position. Trump's a pragmatist. Trump is trying to get things done. Trump is willing to look past, and I get it. I do get it. I think I see it more Elon's way in this particular scenario. But I also say the pragmatist in me thinks that this is probably the best we're going to get. Like it or hate it or love it or whatever, I think that's unfortunately the reality. So I'm going to have to take a break here in just a minute, my friends. But before I do that, let me ask you a question. Would you rather take 2 Salty soft gels a day or spend hours in your doctor's office talking about your cholesterol? Now, there's a time and place to go to the doctor. I'm not knocking that. You may be friends with your doctor. I'm friends with mine. That doesn't mean I want to go in there and talk about these things. If there's another way that I can take care of the process, take care of the problem, or at least begin to address the problem. And that's why I know what I would choose, and it's why I take Salty. Salty is an all-natural, clinically proven way, dietary supplement, by the way, to lower your cholesterol. Science has spoken on this, and it has been shown to lower cholesterol in folks. It may be able to do the same thing for you. There's no prescriptions. It's not a drug, by the way. No doctor's visits, none of that. All you have to do is take 2 of these Salty soft gels a day. That's all it takes to take care of your heart's health. It's a great place to start. Friends, your family needs you healthy. Your church, your business, your community, maybe your little league. All these folks need you healthy. So do we, my friends. Your country needs you in this fight. Take care of your heart with Salty. Salty.com, SOLTEA. Promo code Todd will save you a whopping 50% off your first 3-month supply, and you will get free shipping. Salty.com, SOLTEA. Promo code Todd. Quick time out, my friends. Back in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Maybe I should have started with this since we were segueing in the first hour from the court's ruling on tariffs. Maybe I should have started with this and then moved into Musk and Trump and the big, beautiful bill and all that sort of stuff. But Trump at his press conference in the White House was asked by a reporter about what some Wall Street analysts are referring to as Trump's taco trade policy philosophy. And taco is an acronym. Taco, now someone thinks that they're really ingenious for this. Someone thinks that they've just nailed it. And in their little world, I suppose this is hitting a home run. I think it's I'm unimpressed by this. I can appreciate people who can come up with zingers and just ways to communicate. This isn't it. They want it to be. They act like it is. But what do you think TACO stands for? I may have alluded to this already. What does TACO stand for? Well, my friends, it stands for Trump always chickens out. Trump always chickens out. So what does that mean? Well, these Wall Street analysts say Trump's philosophy on tariffs. Now, keep in mind what happens here. Trump initiates a tariff, which some of those now have been called into question by the court ruling that we talked about in the first hour. But Trump uses a tariff, going to initiate it, sets a deadline, and then as that deadline approaches, he will, depending upon the circumstances, delay the implementation of the tariff. Or maybe the tariff takes place, it's enacted, and then it's paused a short time thereafter. And so these Wall Street analysts say Trump's always chickening out. Now, again, keep in mind what they say when Trump initiates the tariff. Typically, what they say is tariffs are bad policy. This is going to be passed on to the consumer. This isn't good for the American economy. This is just a bad idea. Trump shouldn't be doing it. But then when he doesn't do it, what do? They mock him for being a chicken, which for my generation, this is what you called people. This is what you said to somebody who was afraid to do something. Called him a chicken. In fact, sometimes you might even taunt him by going, bok, 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 bok. That's what you would do. And I'm not saying it was good. I'm not condoning or endorsing it. I'm just saying I remember those days. Scaredy cat, I think people would say too. But you're a chicken, right? Don't be a chicken. Don't be a wimp. And that's what they say. So it's a no-win situation for Trump. If he institutes or initiates or talks about tariffs, he's criticized for doing it. Then if he doesn't do it, he's said to be chickening out. Now they have a term. It's called taco trade. It's so stupid. It's not even good. At least make it good. I'm here for political theater, but just make it good. This is not good. Taco trade policy. Anyway, he's asked about this at the press conference. I just want you to listen to this exchange. Here it is.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country. And because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July 9. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? Because we have $14 trillion now invested, committed to investing when Biden didn't have practically anything. This country was dying. You know, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I went to Saudi Arabia. The king told me. He said, we have the hottest country in the world right now. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that.
So there you go. That's Trump's response. And in essence, what's he saying? What do you mean I chickened out? I've got all this investment. I've got people coming to the table and negotiating with us. He didn't say this, but they typically criticize that I'm even using tariffs. And so I actually do what they want me to do and not use a tariff, and they say I'm chickening out. Look, this country was stone cold dead, he said. Stone cold dead when I took office. Surprised he didn't say anything else about the previous administration when he said that. But he said, look, it was stone cold dead. Nothing was happening. Biden wasn't getting investment. It was hopeless. It was bleak. We were operating under this old way of doing things. Never got addressed. Stone cold dead. I came along, told people this isn't what it's going to be, gave them a warning. Some people took heed and most people didn't. And so I started issuing tariffs. Those tariffs have caused conversations and actions that will benefit the American people, the American economy, the American worker, the American small business owner, the American family, the American senior. This will impact in a positive way lots of people. Companies realized, hey, Trump's serious about this. The only way to get around Trump's tariffs ultimately besides his decision to rescind them at some point in the future, which may or may not happen. The only way to ultimately get around any of this is to basically start producing more things inside the United States. And that's why all these companies are increasing their investment in plants and jobs and so forth here. Trump says you call that chickening out? I call that good negotiation. I call that smart business. What are these wizards of smart thinking over there? How would they have handled this? Because the way that they seem to want things to be handled were the way that we've been handling things for the past 50 years. And it's the decisions of prior administrations. It's the decisions that we've been stuck with over the course of time. Stupid decisions, stupid business decisions, just pure stupidity running amok in this country. That's what's caused the problem. These things that analysts had no, problem with at the time. These wizards of smart are opposing the wrong things. They're not standing up for the policies that are actually helping the American taxpayer, the American citizen, the American worker, the American small business owner. These are people instead who are these critics who come up with stupid phrases like taco. Trump, what was it? Lost my article here. Trump always chickens out. So that's what they come up with. But you don't want me to do a tariff, and then I say I'm going to do a tariff. You get mad at me for doing a tariff, and then I use the tariff to negotiate some movement from these countries that are beneficial to our country, to the taxpayer, heck, probably to you, Mr. or Mrs. fake journalist, or Ms., or Zeezer, or whatever, whoever, whatever. It probably benefits you. And here you are asking me a stupid, nasty question, as Trump would say. That's basically how that exchange went. It's amazing. You know, it's obvious what Trump is trying to do. And they have no interest. Just like they had no interest in understanding the level of mental just disaster, lack of mental fitness and acuity of the former president. The media had no interest in that story. They didn't want to hear anything about it. They acted like they were totally bamboozled, perplexed, confused about that. They had no interest about that. They have no interest also in truly explaining what's going on with these tariffs. So that's about all I care to say about that. I'm getting near the end of the segment as well, my friends. Let's talk about sleep really quickly. If you're tossing and turning at night, it's time to think about making a change. MyPillow may be your solution. They have patented pillows that are top-notch. I use mine every night. I've told you why I like it. I like that it's got the adjustable fill. I'm a side sleeper. I got broad shoulders and a big head, so it is a perfect solution for me. It also has the cooling technology, which I love. Products are also made here in America. Mike Lindell is an American patriot. It's a solid company who loves this great nation, employs American workers, and produces a great product. Check it out, mypillow.com. Promo code Todd will get you savings on probably every product there, but I'll say just about to be safe. mypillow.com, promo code Todd gets you exclusive discounts on the products there. Check it out, my friends, mypillow.com, promo code Todd. All right. That being said, I'm at the end of the segment. Quick time out, my friends. Back here in just 8 minutes. Welcome back, my friends. I want to shift gears here a little bit. I wish I had more time to discuss this because I would like to go into this in more detail. I think this is something that actually is worth exploring. But headline here, redstate.com. It's hopeless. It's hopeless, if I didn't say that correctly. Crestfallen CBS hack Leslie Stahl doesn't see, quote, a path out of Trump's America, written by Mike Miller. Poor Leslie Stahl, bless her Trump-loathing heart. The veteran CBS News reporter not only doesn't see a way out of the horrors visited upon America by President Donald Trump, she's also kind of down as a result. Please. The CBS 60 Minutes correspondent appears in a fear-mongering PBS special. Yes, my friends, that's, of course, the publicly funded, to some degree, media. They're the ones that put this on. They had a special called How Much Executive Power is Too Much, Breaking the Deadlock, a Power Play, which masquerades, the article says here, as an in-depth look at the executive powers of the presidency. Yes, gang, without reading another word, you can already tell that the Dumpster Fire special is simply another hit piece on Trump in which he's portrayed as a threat to our democracy. So they have this special. They have different guests on. You're going to hear from Scott Jennings first. Then you're going to hear from Lesley Stahl herself. You're going to hear from the moderator here at first. I'm not going to probably get all of this in, but I want to get Lesley Stahl's comments in because, well, I just want you to listen. I can't relate to this. That being said, here it is.
One last question, folks. Is there any reason for hope?
I'm hopeful. As long as we can speak to each other and debate each other and vote and then do it all again 2 years later.
Scott Jennings.
It will all work out because this experiment is working, in my opinion, even through troubled times.
I'm not hopeful.
You're not
She
hopeful.
is.
I look at our institutions, all of which have lost the respect and trust of the public. I worry about the future of democracy, obviously, and I don't see the path out, so I'm kind of down.
Roger Severino.
Okay, there we go. So there's a panel of people. There's other people that chime in. I wanted to play this for several reasons. Number one, she's a journalist, first of all. And in my mind, listen, I know I might be in the small minority here, but I think if you want to be a true journalist, you don't come on things like this. You don't interject your opinions about the issues that you might be talking about. That's my opinion. That is my opinion. I mean, it's a free country. You can say that. I'm not saying she shouldn't be permitted to do this. I'm just saying if you want to have credibility in my eyes as the journalist, I don't want to know what you think. I don't want to know if you love Trump, hate Trump, despise Trump, just think he's the greatest president or Hitler. Anything in between. I don't want to know that. I want to be able to trust what you're telling me in as objective a way as possible. Now, that is not what the left thinks. The left thinks that they have to go out there and virtue signal. This would be the journalists as well. In fact, there's something that I've had in the stack of stuff for a while that I'm not going to be able to get to again today that I would like to get to. It's one of those things that I think requires a little bit more time. But Scott Pelley gave a commencement address, I think it was over the weekend. And I would like to talk about some of the things that he said, but I can't do that now. Scott Pelley, of course, where is he? CBS. He's at CBS as well, I believe. Anyway, Lesley Stahl, I think that this is pathetic and wimpy. I think this is a form of virtue signaling, and I think this is insane to say. First of all, she says all the talking points. She's worried about our democracy. She's worried about the loss of credibility that our federal agencies have had. Why? It's incredible to me. If you lie to me and then I say I don't trust you anymore, don't get mad that I don't have trust in the institution that you represent anymore. If you've been swindling me, if you've been taking advantage of me as a taxpayer, and you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar, that this concept of we've lost trust in our institutions as though we've been led to not trust people who were doing their job, that's simply not the way that I see this at all. I see this as you, whether you're in the media, or she's speaking specifically here about the government, whatever your role, but in this case, the government, if you've lost credibility, don't come crying to me about it. If you're a journalist and you get called out for being fake news, don't pitch a fit and say that that's a threat, an existential threat to our democracy, as you say. Don't do that. Do your job. Look in the mirror. Ask the tough questions. You think our founders, by the way, you think our founders sat around and wrung their hands about whether or not a big government was going to remain credible to the people? They demanded that the people hold the government accountable. I mean, she is so much on the wrong side of this. I couldn't even remotely find anything that I agree with her about in this comment. She says that there's no way out. She's afraid she's hopeless. Oh, she's hopeless. I am not hopeful. This is what she said. This is the actual quote. I'm not hopeful. I look at all our institutions, all of which have lost the respect of the American people. Well, why, Leslie? Why have they lost the respect? I worry about the future of democracy, obviously, and I don't see a path out, so I'm kind of down. Wah, wah. Cry me a river. It is unbelievable to me how these people view things, but yet, my friends, here we are. We're also here at the end of today's show. I've got to wrap up. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day. SDG.